So we are resuming right from here. Now just see, you have now on your view the various types of performance reviews, the methods of review, and what we have to do within these. On the left is types of review. They could be performance review, they could be potential review also, and they could be reviews for rewarding or recommendations. Now, performance review is the area which we are discussing right now. Potential review is a similar review, but it looks at what is the potential of a person to move up the ladder of the promotion from the existing position. One might be able to move one step up, he might be able to do 2 steps up, or maybe he might not be having the competencies to move forward, but he could be able to stay in the existing position, and there could be people who do not have competencies. So those are rated on scales 1 to 5, and mostly organizations use 1 to 4 for potential rating. 1 is not fit for the existing assignment, 2 is fit for the present job or assignment, 3 is for getting promoted 1 step up, and 4 is for moving 2 steps upwards. But then we are only concerned with the performance reviews. Now the methods of performance review are given here. I know you all have a knowledge on all this, but I'm just going through it. Ranking, grading, behavior expectations, open-ended, 360 degrees feedback. We all keep on hearing all this, and we are also into it by various ways. Now there could be alternative methods. For example, behavior-oriented ratings. You orientate the rating on behavior patterns of humans, right? How somebody is likely to perform, or how you observe him performing. Now within that, again, there could be relative rating system, and it could be absolute rating system. Then you have result-oriented methods, which are management by objectives and work and planning review. Now the behavior-oriented rating methods themselves can take the form of a narrative essay. They can be ranking, paired comparisons, forced distribution. You can have a behavioral checklist, how an individual will behave. By taking the checklist that this is how the person is behaving, you can rate him and rank him. Similarly, you can use critical incidents, how a person behaved on a particular incident. You keep seeing those things and noting these incidents in your diary. And then at the end of the year, you review his performance based on those incidents. Similarly, you can have behaviorally anchored rating scales, where you rate people. It could take the form of, for example, does not agree at all is the lowest level of agreement on various activities. Sometimes agrees and sometimes disagrees, agrees on most of the things, highly agrees, or is all the times aligned to people and their efforts. So such like things go into the behaviorally anchored rating scale. Now let's see the requirements of any effective appraisal system. Whatever system we make, we can have any number of systems in our organizations. Various organizations have different systems. But then the fundamental requirements of any appraisal system are that the system should be relevant to the organization. It should be sensitive enough to bring out what it is actually meant for. It should be able to bring out the sensitivities, the characteristics of the people who are being appraised. It should be reliable. This means anybody who is appraised, he should be ready to understand whatever system he is going through is based on merit, it is based on justice and fair play, equity is available, he can have open-ended discussion. That is what is reliable. Otherwise, the person will think that he can do anything, but it won't make any difference. Therefore, people will start relying on the system. The next is acceptability. Now, the process appraisal system should be acceptable to the people who are not only using it, but also who are going through the appraisal process. That is, the management and the employees must take the performance appraisal system as the right system for the organization, and they should accept it. Similarly, it should be practical. You cannot use a system which is not practicable and then start appraising people. They'll come back to you and tell you 101 things that this is not acceptable or it is not practical. Now, who should evaluate performance? Anybody can evaluate performance. For example, you can evaluate your customer, and the customer can evaluate you in turn how you perform. So here we have, you can be evaluated by the immediate supervisor, you can be evaluated by your own colleagues and friends, or the likes who are working with you in the same organization, peers. The subordinates, I believe they know the better part of our personality as well as performance. They can judge you the best. Have the courage to ask them, how am I performing? And they'll tell you how you are performing. Just a few moments back, I was down below, and trust me, I was asking my colleagues or friends who know me here, I just met a few of them, and I was asking, how are we going? Are we really able to communicate, or I'm just rattling things? Now, this requires sincerity of efforts within you and within the people. Similarly, you can have self-appraisal. Your own conscientiousness right here in your heart will tell you how effective you are, where you are actually reaching, and are you really heading for the right direction which you really started for? Will you be able to really catch on and produce the desired results, or have you really produced the results in the right frame? So self-appraisal is a very important method of evaluation. Then is customers served. Ask your customers and you'll get to know how people feel about you. You can have customer satisfaction surveys, you can have any other way, but definitely this is also a way of evaluation. Then is the computers-based evaluation. You feed the data into it from various, places where you get the feedback from, and the computers will provide you your own feedback, how you are performing. And if you do the same for your subordinates, the computers will bring out the right perception they should be making. Similarly, the last one is the multi-raters, that is 360 degrees feedback. Now, what is 360 degrees feedback? It actually means your boss, your colleagues or peers, your subordinates, your customers, your clients, even your maybe contractors, vendors, they all can be asked how Mr. XYZ is able to work with you and how he is really performing. It's a very valuable system. One can himself nominate people. Okay, let me have a 360 degrees feedback. And it will provide you the real perception. But this way of evaluating employees, let me also highlight, is actually used for development of people, of bringing out what development areas they need to focus on, the 360 degrees feedback. So in Pakistan right now, people are using it only as an evaluation or performance evaluation method. But in the multinational companies, it is used as a developmental tool only and not as a performance evaluation method. All these systems are used in various organizations, and this is how popular they are. The rating scale system is used by 51% of organizations. The essays, that is the short description about people, they are used by 23% of organizations. The management by objectives are used by 17% organizations, and there are various other forms which have their own shape. Now, this is how the performance appraisal actually works. It all begins with first establishing performance standards with the employee. How would you actually like them to perform? This is the standard, and then you subject their performance to that standard, aligning their performance and then finding out what is the measure, where do they stand. The next one is you need to mutually set measurable goals. What are your objectives for a given period? That have to be decided between the person who is to be evaluated at the end of the period and the person who will evaluate the person or an employee. Then you have to measure the actual performance. This is a very important element. One needs to really understand how to measure people's performance and what they are actually performing. If there is any shortcoming in this area, it will be a difficult phenomena for you to evaluate people, because they will not accept what is their actual performance. And then you have to compare the actual performance with the performance standards which you had in the beginning agreed or shown to the people that this is the standard we would like to measure you at. And then you have to discuss the appraisal with the employees. In addition, ultimately, this review will then bring out the phenomena of correcting people. That is, you have to initiate the corrective action also. Now let us see how performance management is actually done. Performance management process has 5 steps. This is from my suggested format or to my understanding, but you can have any varying combinations of these steps. And the first step is planning the performance. Thereafter you manage the performance, and then you review the performance, followed by rewarding the performance, having reviewed. And ultimately, if there is a need to do some corrective measures, then this is performance correction. So let us have a look at step 1, which is performance planning. Now in performance planning, a few elements are very essential. The first one is key result areas. You do not have to actually focus on all areas of performance, or you do not have to select objectives from the complete job description given to you that here is this job description. You have to be very selective. You have to select the key result areas only. Of course, when you are working out to identify your own objectives. And when you are doing it for your subordinates also, you have to also enforce upon them that it is not that you have 101 objectives. They have to be only in a few result areas. Maybe normally 2 to 5 is one which is recommended, but not more than that. In any case, I have seen managers asking for as high a number as maybe 30 to 40 also. And I know somebody, he was in a position where I asked him, look, such and such person had come to me, and he tells me that my boss has given me 30 objectives. We were just discussing during the interval with the friend who is sitting here. He was asking me what to do with the boss. So this is what happens. The boss, he doesn't himself understand how many objectives he should have, puts people into problems. Now the gentleman said, well, Tariq Saab, मैं अमेरिका से MBA करके आया हूँ, मैंने MS किया हुआ है, and I have worked in an organization where I did a valuable job on research of robotics, or I'm not enjoying the fact that you are telling me कि objectives 2, 4, 5 होने चाहिए. ये करेंगे क्यों नहीं करेंगे? So I told him कि देखिए आप मेरी बात का बुरा मना गए हैं, मुझे तो इन्हीं लोगों ने कहा था कि इनको ज़रा थोड़ा सा पूछें तो सही कि किस तरह करना है. तो ये आप ना खुद कर पाएंगे ना ये कर पाएंगे, and in the end you will be fighting with your employees. And trust me, this is what happened at the end also. The employees of this person, they had a tough time with him at the end of the year, and again they gave me the feedback कि जी वो तो बड़ा मसला हो गया, 30 में से हमारे 5 या 6 ऑब्जेक्टिव्स पूरे हुए. और अब मैं मुख्तसर करके ये बता दूं कि रिज़ल्ट क्या निकला था. आफ्टर अबाउट प्रॉब्ली 2 years, the gentleman had to leave the organization because he was not aligning himself with the whole concept of work and all that, and he was not accepting. And then he went out of Pakistan. We knew people outside who kept, passing his progress, and I came to know that there also he could only work for 6 months, whereas he was saying he has worked in USA for 20 years. And after those 20 years, 2 years here in Pakistan and 6 months in another country, then he comes back to the same country, Pakistan, and he became a big man, the boss. So I won't name him, and he still continues doing the same thing. So here we are. The next thing apart from the objectives is performance measurement. This is related to the person who is performing. You have to create suitable performance measurements which need to be easy to understand and easy to digest for the person who is evaluating the person also. And then ultimately, what competencies the person has or will require to perform. This is how will the work be done. So this is why these are the elements of performance. Now the key result areas themselves, I have already spoken on all these things. They need to have no more than the number of objectives. I mentioned earlier, they describe the job, how it exists, and the minimum change from year to year, how does it take, and they are definitely coming out of the job description. Now this is an example of a performance plan of a sales manager. Just have a look at it. The key result area is the sales turnover. This is one example. The objective could be to increase sales of new private hospitals. And the performance measurements are given right here. Increase sales by 10% over 2009 or 2008 for each hospital. And maybe sell 3 units of steroid to new private hospitals. This is the name of an equipment. So what competencies the person requires? Creates value for the customers. This is one competency. This is according to the system we have in my organization, which is GLP, known as Global Leadership Profile. We have a profile which has about 13 competencies. So the person needs to create value for the customer so that he agrees to buying things, right? Steroid is a very costly equipment. Then his focus externally. He needs to be all the time looking outside. Kahan bechega? Kahan kis tarah bikega? Similarly, this is again another performance plan. The key result area here is people development. How will he develop his own people who are reporting to him? The objective becomes coach and train sales executive to assume sales management responsibility. And the performance measurements are again given here. Sales executives ready for promotion to field sales manager in 2009 or January 2009. The next one is sales executive should be able to attain superior rating in people management projects in his 2009 development plan. So this is the example, and the competencies are also given here. Creates achievement environment. Now, since he's a manager and he has to develop people, the people will develop only when he creates an environment for their performance as well as development within their job. Develops people for optimal performance. It is not the performance only short-lived. It has got to be maximized. So this is how we make performance plans. This is another example of a performance plan for an accountant. The key result area is internal control. So the objective could be to maintain company accounting procedures as written in capital assets acquisition procedures. Performance measures, well, train all sales managers and purchasing managers in capital assets acquisition procedures. Non-compliance, not to exceed 5% per quarter in 2009. And the competencies required are, he should be able to focus externally, he should be able to promote innovation and continuous learning, and then build interdependent partnering. Why? He is an accountant. His job is related to sales managers, sales force, and such like people who are not within his department. So it requires partnering. The next step is managing performance. Now, how do you manage performance? Managing performance requires that you provide essential resources to the people who are performing, and this has to be decided when initially you are agreeing upon the objectives and the support they require for working on their objectives. You allow people to perform and you keep on monitoring their performance. But in the process, you provide independence and complete empowerment along with the resources. You facilitate their performance and also provide them effective supervision. Then you guide them where needed and you coach them, supporting for achievement of the results. The next step is reviewing performance, having seen how people have been performing. Now this is the time when you review what people have done. You need to understand the progress and completed assignments, and you make a note that you have received the completion along with the performance planning and evaluation form so that you can read it and understand and review it in thoroughness. Provide feedback to maintain performance and motivation is provided. So this has to be done with the people. Feedback on behavior, strengths and improvement areas, that is given. And also feedback regularly, maybe at least once every 6 months. The feedback is not that you give him at the end of the performance period. If it is of a 1-year performance period, then you do not call him in December and tell him, I have been observing you and you have done wonderfully well. But all the times I saw you were not able to reach your targets and you never came back to me. It's not his job to come back to you, mind you. He is your subordinate. It's your job also to monitor, invite him for fruitful discussions, to coach him, to guide him, to facilitate him, and also to provide him the feedback at the time when it is required. The post-period feedback will be of no use to anybody. So coaching to get performance back on the track, ensure employees are not surprised with the final appraisal rating at the year end. Now these are the key activities for performance evaluation, and these are review achievement of objectives and performance, review demonstration of the competencies what the people have been showing, confirm and reinforce good performance, review areas of improvement, let employee know where he or she stands and provide performance evaluation summary to them. Provide feedback on employee development plan. There has got to be a complete format for the employee development plan itself. Otherwise, if you will just speak verbally, there will be no record one, there will be no mutual understanding, and you will not come to any agreement. So there's a need of having an employee development form in addition to the performance evaluation form. Now the principles for giving good feedback, well, definitely the feedback has to be immediate on as and when required basis. You must ask questions to the person and select key issues in his areas. Focus on changing the behavior of people and not changing the people themselves, by the way. You do not have to focus on the people. You have to focus on their behavior while they are performing, not to personalize with them. Then it has to be at the appropriate time. The next step is rewarding performance. Now people perform not only for the heck of it that they are performing. Anybody who performs actually needs something in return of that performance. That is why we have remuneration. Otherwise, there would have been no need of salaries. There would have been no need of rewards. Even a pat at the back is a reward. So this is the list of rewards. The rewards need to be tied to the performance and not to your wishful understanding how the person has performed. You need to have salary increases for them, bonuses, incentives, promotions or adjustments. And then you also have the usage of benefits and perks which can be reviewed annually for any individual. You can give him varying and improved benefits. And the last step is performance correction. This is what I spoke earlier as PIP, which is performance improvement plans. So let us see what do we have on the PIP. Now, if the employees do not meet the performance standards for the jobs, they must be made to understand the areas which require improvement. Otherwise, if you just tell them you are not coming to the criteria and I rate you as 2 on a rating scale 1 to 5, then he won't understand what he has to do and where he has to improve and what is the correction required. So you have to make a performance improvement plan and make him understand where he is weak and where he requires improvement and how he can improve also. You might be able to help him while discussing the issues. Then a performance improvement plan should be put in place with the employee's agreement. If he agrees for a 3 months period, have it for 3 months. If it is a difficult proposition and he thinks he requires more time, then give him more time also. You can even give him 6 months. But if it is a minor issue, you can even give 1 month also to a person. Okay, next month I'll have another review with you and I'll see you how you have improved in this area. It is the focused area where one needs to improve. Then is regular coaching and counseling when you have launched a performance improvement plan. And if the employee still fails to improve, well then separation or showing the way out is the only way. The process of PIP is given right here, and I've already spoken on. It can be between 1 to 3 months, and it can be even a weekly review. It can be reviewed with a copy to HR. You can even finally review at the end of the PPE period again. If you have decided with him for 1 month or 3 months or 6 months, you can have another review at the end of that period. And if the employee meets the standards set in the PIP, then the employee reverts to the normal performance plan. Then he is taken off from the PIP and he goes back to the normal performance. And if she does not again meet the standard, after the second chance, sure separation is the answer, nothing else. Now these are the factors which come into play while we are appraising people. And they are known as the factors which distort the appraisal. The first thing is leniency error. Mostly we are very lenient with anybody who is our subordinate or subordinated to us. We say, छोड़ें जी, बस ठीक है, काम हो गया, results हो गए, जाने दें. Then is halo error. You just come across somebody's halo effect. Everybody has an aura around him. You get to like something good in him, and then you focus on that only. And you say, here's a wonderful person. Whereas his colleagues later on might be saying, यार क्या चीज़ है ये बंदा, काम वाम नहीं करता, बॉस पता नहीं कैसे खुश हो जाता है. So those are the people who come into this domain. Then is similarity error. What happens in this is we all tend to be humans, and as humans, all humans look for a similar person of their own, shape, nature, style. They look for another Tariq. If I am there, I'll look for a person who looks like me. And the moment I find something similar in anybody, I'll be attracted to him and I'll say, here is a good performer. He performs exactly like me. So this is what is similarity error. बाकी चीजें वो क्या करता है, वो नजर से हट जाती हैं. Then is central tendency. यार ना ज़्यादा सख्ती करें, ना ज़्यादा नरमी करें. दरम्यान में रहते हैं, ठीक है यार, सबने कंपनी में रहना है, चलो इसको भी रहने दो. Then is inflationary pressures. Performance जैसे भी की, ठीक है. At the end of the performance period, people start building the pressure on the person who has to review you. For example, if I am the person, so I'll build pressure around my boss with a number of phone calls from his friends. यार वो